Deep water. I worked my way over the rugged terrain, twisting around the thorny bushes that were tugging at my back while trying to keep my footing on the sand-covered rocks below. I prayed for guidance, seeking a way to safety. I knew that the Lord knew the direction I should go, even when it wasn't obvious to me. I found myself at a river that must be crossed, or I would soon face my enemy head-on. Was now the time to stop and take a stand? King David came to mind, and how he was constantly on the move to stay out of the grasp of King Saul. He was respectful of Saul, although that was never reciprocated to him. Saul was constantly trying to eliminate the threat he felt from David, even though David never threatened him. David even had multiple opportunities to eliminate Saul and end the contention between them, but he chose not to, knowing that it was not a task that had been placed upon him. I could fortify my position here, I thought, and set up a trap so that I seemingly came out victorious, but I knew that now was neither the time nor the place. I must keep moving on. A scene played in my head with the thought of the ancient Israelites who, while fleeing from Pharaoh's soldiers, came up to the waters of the Red Sea. With faith, Moses raised his arms. The Lord sent strong winds, and the waters were parted, allowing the refugees to walk along the dry ground where water flowed only moments before. I wondered if the Lord would do the same for me, allowing for a relatively easy crossing. But that thought was as fleeting as the leaf I saw tumbling over the rocks in the water. The prompting came that I needed to cross the waters at a certain point, where everything seemed somewhat tranquil. At first, I was able to navigate the slippery riverbed quite well, but very quickly, as I waited, the water was rising over my belt loops, and then the waves were splashing on my neck. I held my pack above my head, trying to keep the contents dry. The waters ahead seemed to be growing more and more angry, lashing out as they rushed downstream. As I grew more concerned for my ability to traverse these rough waters, I thought of a passage of Scripture, where the disciples of Jesus Christ cry out, "Carest thou not that we perish?" I knew my situation wasn't quite the same as the concern the apostles had while the waves were flailing over the sides of their boat, threatening their destruction while pulling their vessel to a watery graveyard below. But it was still just as worrisome to me, wondering how I would continue on and if I could make it. I knew that stopping wasn't a realistic option, so I kept pressing forward. Soon, my feet were no longer touching the mucky rocks, and I was trying my best to swim across to the other side, occasionally lowering my boot to test for footing. As I struggled to keep my head afloat, I asked God why He led me to this place that was so difficult to cross, instead of taking me to a bridge or to a place with shallow, mild waters. Though it was not an audible voice that anyone else would have recognized, I heard the voice of God say to me, "I led you through turbulent water because your pursuer doesn't know how to swim." I then realized that although this was a struggle that seemed almost insurmountable, it was the Lord's way to lead me to safety. I knew that even though I don't always know, the Lord does. This gave me the strength to continue on, knowing that He is mindful of me.